We are underclassmen members of U of M Greek life in sororities and fraternity on campus. We are all a part of either Panhellenic or Infraternity Council and can only speak to those experiences. Our purpose is to identify similarities and differences between sorority and fraternity life and between specific chapters. Over the course of several weeks, we discuss the following topics each week: perceptions of Greek life, toxic masculinity, sexual assault, double standards of women within Greek life, pros and cons of Greek life, fraternity experience compared to sorority experience, diversity, representation, and classism within the system, and plans to better improve the image of Greek life. We define Greek life as the membership of a chapter of a social Greek organization affiliated with a national organization. Diversity is defined broadly as differences in social categories like race, ethnicity, religion, gender, sexuality, socioeconomic status, nationality, etc. Representation is making sure to bring visibility to these different identities, and classism is prejudice against or in favor of people belonging to a particular social class. Although the Greek system has weaknesses with all these topics, over time we repeatedly found that a culture of toxic masculinity within the gendered space of fraternities led to such a high prevalence of sexual assault. We want to acknowledge the negative aspects of Greek life and realize there's significant room for growth in this social system through smaller and larger scales ways of changing the culture of Greek life.
Greek life, and me personally coming in, I had a really negative perception of Greek life, and I never originally wanted to rush. I thought it was just like a lot of snobby, rich, like white people, which I'm not gonna lie, there is a lot, but I personally found that like it's a lot more about like women supporting women and stuff, and I've found like a great support system through that.
Before joining Greek life, my perspective on Greek life was that it was very diverse and it would be a very good way to get involved with the community. And after joining, I would say that it is not as diverse as it could be, and it is still a good way to get involved with the community.
I perceived Greek life as being more of a very inclusive community. Like when you go through the brush process, they talk a lot about sisterhood and philanthropy, but in actual Greek life, that's not really what our focus is. There's a lot of emphasis on like binge drinking, hookup culture, things that just aren't, I guess like it just wasn't what I was expecting. I also thought it'd be more diverse and more outreach to the community, but it's actually pretty like secluded. Like Greek life people pretty much hang out with Greek life people. Yeah, I don't know what else I have to say.
Yeah, before coming in, like I thought it was a lot of like partying and drinking. After being involved in it, it's definitely like there was a lot of drinking and a lot of partying. I wasn't expecting so much of the hookup culture though. I didn't really think about that before coming in, and I also didn't. I thought it would be more inclusive and like a good way to like find a tight knit community, but it is really quickie. I found.
Yeah, week 2, we were talking about toxic masculinity, sexual assault, and the double standards of women within Greek life. And for me, what personally affects me the most, or I get like most upset with, is that I know that all those women like in our chapters and stuff have to do multiple sexual assault trainings. And I've talked to many like guys in fraternities, and they maybe have to do one, if that. So it's just really frustrating that we're only having half of the conversation, and we're focusing on prevention on the women's side, and we should be focusing on like also like talking to the guys about it, because that's only half of the conversation, and it's like it's teaching that we need to like protect ourselves when we shouldn't be like afraid all the time.
We talked about this in one of our discussions a few weeks ago, that like the guys only have a seminar when an incident happens, whereas girls, like we have a lot of preventative seminars. Like I can list probably like 6 or 7 that we've gone to,
multiple like seminars.
and it just like doesn't seem like it's very prevalent in fraternities.
For fraternities, there seems to be a large presence of arrogance when discussing the hookup culture, as we call it these days. It's all about trying to see who has the huge muscles or who can hook up with this girl and that girl, and that is most of the toxic masculinity that I've experienced.
There's a lot of this like pressure, I feel like, to conform to like and like we talked about in the lecture, like the real man, like strong, gets with a lot of women.
One thing that's really frustrating about the divide between fraternities and sororities is that we're only allowed to have alcohol in fraternity houses. So there's like national policies where sororities can't have alcohol in the house at all. So that means at frat parties or at Greek affiliated parties, they're all held on frat property. They're all the alcohol is controlled by frats supposedly. It's just a very gendered space in which men have all the control, and so that's another reason why sexual assault is pretty prevalent in Greek life. It's because there's so much control in one dominated space, and then women just kind of go to that space and are expected to go, and we're told to be like fun and flirty enough to be at these parties, and it just seems very like almost predatory.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's even like themes that are like hunt and be hunted, or
Yeah.
hunt or be hunted and stuff, and
And like hoes and CEOs.
yeah, you know what I mean. So there's even those themes are just so like derogatory towards like women.
And is like there anything that you like do to like? Because I could name like 20 off the top of my head. Like
Anything we do to,
I don't know, like protect yourself and prevent yourself from sexual assault. Like, do you ever feel like unsafe in a space?
I wouldn't say personally I do, but I think an eye-opening thing for me, like you said about the cups, I never would have ever imagined that filling up a drink as the person behind the bar. I would have never imagined that like that thought would cross somebody's mind until somebody said it to me. And then it made so much sense as to like why women are so cautious about those things, because it does happen. It does happen often.
Sounds so like dumb, but like if we could just have our own parties, like
Then we could
control
control those spaces.
like,
which
yeah.
would be we could control the alcohol flow, which reduces the risk of getting roofied, which would be so much safer for us.
yeah, like.
We just wanted to touch upon issues that are prevalent to the Greek community. We discussed a large spectrum of topics regarding division, oppression, and inequity, but we wanted to highlight only a few topics that we feel very passionately about. We obviously are just a very small representation of this large community, but we all come from different chapters and acknowledge that there is a lack of diversity within the system. We believe that in order to create a more holistically equitable community, it should be required that all chapters, both fraternities and sororities, should require diversity and inclusion seminars, sexual assault prevention, and alcohol safety, other type seminars, in order to begin changing the dominant culture of Greek life. We chose to focus on the imbalance of power and social capital within this community, specifically relating to sexual assault and gendered spaces. We believe that it is unfair that the University of Michigan holds fraternities and sororities equally responsible when we are not given equal amounts of control for our actions.